Hello, educators. Good afternoon. I am Tanvi Auradkar, a practicing psychologist with a clinical specialization and an edupreneur. I belong to the Pune city, and I would like to welcome you all at ENAC Power Talk. So, the topic that I have chosen for today is teachers as classroom counselors and psychological first aid and beyond. So, this topic has always been very close to my heart, and especially during such tough times of pandemic, I think it's very, very necessary that I address this particular topic to you all, so you all are really empowered to adopt certain strategies, and I just hope you find it very, very useful. So, moving on. The agenda for the talk today would be a short introduction of counseling skills and its need for the educators. Moving on, there would be top counseling skills for educators, application of counseling skills, and also certain next steps that you need to keep in mind for severe concerns. Yeah, so let's begin. So, I would like to start with a short reflective activity. So, if you could all close your eyes for a moment and just follow the instructions. Okay. So, like the name suggests, a walk down the memory lane. So, I'm going to ask you all to close your eyes, think about, say, one incident or multiple incidences wherein you felt the need to run to anyone in times of trouble. It could be when you were a student, it could be when you were a new joinee in your first job, or in any other situation. Think about the qualities of the person you always thought of running to when you were in the trouble times. Did they really listen to you? Did they give you a chance to clarify yourself? Did they really understand what you were going through? And did they really keep all the information you shared very, very confidential? Take 10 seconds. List down these names in your mind and think about those people. Once you're done listing them down, try and study the qualities that they have. Do you think that all the qualities that I spelt out in the form of questions while you were trying to remember, qualities that helped you to go to that person? I'm sure the answers are yes. So you can now open your eyes, and I will now tell you why I did this quick activity. So this particular activity is going to help us understand what are certain qualities that make a person approachable. What are certain qualities that help us gain confidence or gain trust in them? Yeah. So as we move forward, you will go on understanding deeper why I took up this particular activity. Yeah. So moving forward, let's now move on to top counseling skills of educators. So the first one I would like to begin with is empathy. I'm sure you've all heard about it already. So what is empathy? In empathy, you always think that, as you hear it, putting yourself into someone else's shoe or seeing the world with their eyes. Okay, that is empathy for you. So let me dig a little deeper and tell you that empathy is not only, just these two things, but you should also be able to feel what the other person is feeling. You need to understand and even sometimes maybe predict. Okay, if you've understood well, you will be able to predict well that what is this person now going to react like. Okay. And if you can predict it correctly, that's when you've been able to empathize completely. So you understand the other person, you accept the other person. Yeah. And yeah, so that's empathy. And I'm sure by now you must also be thinking about sympathy, right? So sympathy, like a lot of them tell me, is that similar to empathy or is it different? And if yes, how is it different? So in sympathy, what happens is you try to feel, you try to understand the person, but you feel pity for them. You feel sorry for them. Okay. Then you are, yes, understanding and being in that situation, but you're not really being able to help them out of that particular situation. So that's the little difference between empathy and sympathy. Yeah. So this slide speaks about that. And I'm now sure that you are even able to relate to the image that is on the slide. So definitely, like you all have guessed it correctly, the one in the orange top or the t-shirt is the person who is sympathizing with the student or a child. Okay. He is just being in that situation, but not able to bring that person out. But the one in the green hoodie is trying to help that person to get out of that situation. So, yes, he's understood what is happening and he now knows what are the next steps that I need to take for this person to feel better. Yeah. So, moving on. Now, next very crucial skill is active listening. In active listening, a lot of them just feel that active listening is, just listening with concentration, but it's much, much more beyond than that. Okay. So you need to display that you are understanding, you are, paying attention, and you can do that only by giving, little responses in between, which could either be non-verbal or verbal. So responses like, mm-hmm, yes, okay, I understand, I see, aha. All of these convey that yes, this person is listening to me and at the same time, even understanding me. Okay. Now, when you're actively listening, you are also expected to summarize the information that the other person is trying to convey. So, what happens in summarizing is that you are taking up maybe the key words from the conversation and you are just saying, so did you mean, da 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 da, whatever that person said? Have I understood you correctly? Is that what you are trying to say? Okay, so these are the different kinds of responses that you can use when you're summarizing the other person's conversation. This is definitely going to make them feel understood and open up and give out more information. Yeah. So that's about active listening. Moving on to being non judgmental. Now, a lot of times you must have felt judged for various reasons, and these could be very, very unique to each one of you. Yeah. So, if I may ask you to draw your attention to the image on the slide and just look at the owl. Okay. So, what is the kind of feeling that you get looking at this owl? You feel that the owl is judging you, right? It is because of the expressions, the non-verbal expressions, the way his eyes are, the way it is staring at you. You are actually feeling that he's judging you because yes, he is. Okay. So what happens is we are always very, very conscious about our comments, our conversations, our interactions, but it's also the non-judgmental expression that we need to convey. A lot of times I might say, yes, I'm understanding, or this is not how it should have been, but my facial expressions are saying that I've already jumped to a conclusion. Or maybe, sometimes a sarcastic expression is something that I may display. This is not always intentionally, but sometimes it also happens unintentionally when I'm not really paying attention to my expressions. Okay. So as simple as it is, your neutral actions and comments plus unconditional positive regard. Now, in unconditional positive regard, what happens is you are accepting the person as he or she is. Okay. When you are listening or looking at that person or interacting, you are keeping your values away. Okay. And just trying and understanding and accepting the person as it is. This person might have conflicting views as you, they might be having difference of opinions, but still you need to, always accept them. You need to respect the individual differences that you have with this person. So, yes, that is what unconditional positive regard is. Then avoiding assumptions. So, like I touched upon this point already, you need to avoid assumptions. You cannot be jumping to conclusions. You have to always check and double check the information with the same person without really understanding it from certain vague behaviors. Yeah. So yes, all of this together is definitely non-judgmental approach. uh, Moving on to the next segment. So what I have done here is, after going through all the skills, okay, I have drawn up a little case study for you all. Please try and imagine this particular situation, and if you can relate to this situation, maybe as an observer or as the person in the situation, then nothing like it. Yeah. So moving on, this is Miss Rachel's class, and one of the student in the class is repeatedly interrupting and is displaying disruptive behavior, um, and also negative comments along with his friends or bench partners. So these comments that Miss Rachel has heard are not very pleasant, of course, and they are very confrontational in nature because the way they are passed on, uh, they are actually talking about the teacher's role in the classroom. So yes, the teacher is feeling very, very, say, intimidated in this situation. Yeah. So what do you think should the teacher, go ahead with? What should be her reaction? Is it just shouting, punishing, letting them, asking them to move out of the class? Is that going to really sort out the issue? Or she needs to hold on for a class or two, see if the behavior is continuing, and then maybe ask the students to meet outside the class privately. So that would also take care of the confidentiality aspects. So give 5 seconds to yourself, think about it, and then we can move on to the next slide. So now, when Miss Rachel is actually meeting the student outside the class, she needs to be very conscious. She should not get into any kind of emotional reaction or get into arguments because the comments were passed on to her role, or she should not directly start firing the student. So what she can instead do is, she can very politely tell to the student that this is what I have been observing in a class or two, and maybe I've not liked it or I've not understood why this is happening. If you could help me understand what the concern is. Okay, so this kind of language is actually going to get the child to speak to you, rather than just punishing, and then you don't know why the child did what he or she did. Okay, so always reason it out, and you can reason it out in a different tone and different words than the usual the punishment words. So yeah, then moving on, what else could happen is that the teacher could also ask the student, instead of what is bothering you, or why did you do this, those kind of closed-ended questions. Instead of that, if she could ask an open-ended question, which is what's going on. So when someone asks you also what's going on, you are immediately prone to give out a lot of information. Okay. Versus with a close-ended question, you will be restricted to a yes or a no or sorry, ma'am, I will not repeat it again. Okay, those are the usual answers we get from the students. So if you could, tweak around a little in your response ways or your reactions, that could help you a lot with your conversations with the students. Uh, like you can see in the picture also, the students are, very, very uh, friendly. They are in an open environment. The teacher is also having a smile, so I'm sure they're having a good time. So with your repeated, display of the essential counseling skills that we spoke of, this is definitely a class that you can have as your very own class. You might tend to enjoy your classes more. You may yield more. You may be able to find the answers to a lot of questions that you had thus far. So do try and implement these strategies.
Start.
Okay, so like you have seen in the case study, and there would be various such situations in your classroom as well. So, what is it here that the teacher could do differently when she meets the student outside the classroom? So, one, she should remember not to get into emotional conversations like, why did you do what you did, etc. Second, she should not get into arguments. Rather, she should use a language such as, here's what I have been observing for the last 1 or 2 sessions, and I'm not happy about it, or I do not like the way the comments are passed, etc. Okay, whatever applicable to your particular situation. And, and then from there, you could move on to asking open ended questions so that you're able to yield more information out of the student. Yeah. So something like what's going on or what was going on in the classroom, then the student will be able to share more with you if you ask an open ended questions. So converse with the student by asking, how can I offer some suggestions? So, if you have conversations like, let's agree to disagree on a particular issue, or bring your concerns to me privately when you have them. So, what you're doing is you're building a relationship which tells the students that you are approachable, and yes, they can reach out to you and share and discuss their problems or concerns. Okay, so remember to give them the choices so that they become more responsible students or adults. Yeah. Uh, so this was about a slightly different way to handle a usual classroom situation. Now let's quickly move on to application of counseling skills. So why I call, or rather, why do I believe that it's a superpower for a teacher to have counseling skills is that when she upgrades her skill set by including the counseling skills, she will be able to, feel empowered to understand and empathize with most of the students and handle the situations differently. With the use of listening skills that we already covered, she would be empowered to motivate students and gain their trust. And lastly, by adopting non-judgmental attitude, a teacher can become more approachable and can become the go-to person in the times of difficulty for all the students that she caters to. So please use these counseling skills to your benefit, and you would see a much more positive interaction between the students and you. So the last segment talks about referral process. Now, though as an educator you are, being able to apply certain counseling skills, you need to understand that for severe cases, you cannot be the one taking care of them, but a referral process is very, very important. So, what you can include in your referral process is one, observe the child's behavior for a week, okay, during different times or settings in the day. Second, make a note of your observations in pointers. The third crucial step would then be to go ahead and inform your school coordinator about the observed concerns. Moving on, invite the school counselor for specialized observation. Then, what you can do is discuss the need of counseling if required, and uh, please go ahead and introduce the child to the counselor. Okay, so that all the stigma that we have about visiting a counselor or seeing a counselor and seeking help from her is taken care of. Okay, and lastly, the sixth one talks about keeping in touch with the counselor for regular updates from each other, that's between the counselor and the teacher, regarding the child's process, the child's progress. Okay, so these are the 6 steps that if you follow for behaviors that you cannot deal with on your own, uh, please go ahead and refer. Okay, because remember that as a teacher, yes, it is crucial to learn counseling skills and apply them everywhere required. But for specialized services or specialized approach, please invite the counselors. And also, if your school does not have one, please get in touch with your coordinator and arrange for a psychologist outside wherein you can refer the child for any further help. So, these were the quick steps. And with this, I end my talk today. And I wish all the teachers all the very best. May you help many, many more students, and may your students remember you as a person they can go to in times of difficulties. Thank you.